Hey, it's Ethan here at eTrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Hollywood Racks Destination 2-bike hitch rack and how it fits on our 2022 Nissan Frontier. It's going to be a platform-style bike rack capable of supporting your bikes up to 35 pounds apiece. It's going to hold on to them primarily with these frame clamps here, as well as a strap on the back and the front tire, so it does make frame contact. If you want to use this with your carbon frame bikes, we'd recommend against it because it could potentially damage your frame while you're driving. If you have an alternative frame style bike, it can accommodate a certain amount of aggressive frames, but you might have to pick up something like a bike adapter bar to make it work. Overall, there's not a ton to it, so we can just get into it and get our bike removed first. We'll do that starting with the wheel straps, the front one in this case. You can see that they do have pads on them as well to protect our tire. Come back here to the back. Same thing, just press that gray button to release the strap, pull it through. And now is where things can get a little bit tricky, so I like to put my arm around the frame if I can, because once I loosen up this strap on the center clamp, our bike is going to start to move around. So it's a matter of trying to hold it in place while we get the strap around, just like that. And the rack doesn't tilt away, which is why we're doing this first. And I can just get the bike up and off. Here's just a closer look at those clamps, so you can see they do rotate all the way around. If the strap wasn't blocking it, you'd be able to see it a little bit better. But they do have a nice pad inside as well to cushion your frame just a little bit. Now we'll get this center mass folded down just by releasing this hand knob here. And then I will remove this catch plate as well. Ours is just a little bit stuck. I've been using this rack for some time, but fold this down now. You can either use the cradle strap here or the strap on the frame to keep it in place. I'll be using the mast strap in my case just to keep the whole thing down and secured. Just fit it right back into there. Our straps are going to fight each other here a little bit, so just get it in enough that it stays. And we can see that we do also have the cradles here, support a tire width of 3 inches. Just because of how the rack is designed, it angles down on both sides to accommodate a little bit of a larger wheelbase of up to 48 inches. Now is the best point when you're going to be able to access your tailgate with everything folded down and out of the way. So we'll open it up, and we do eventually make contact right around here or so you don't get full bed access, but if you have a tonneau cover, now would be the time where you want to get in and get the things out that you might need. Otherwise, if you don't have a tonneau cover, it doesn't take up a ton of room. You should have room, even with the bikes on one side or another, to get some things out of the bed that you might need. But from here, I'll also get some measurements just so we can see how much distance we're adding on to the back. So it's a pretty small rack. From the back of the bumper to where the end of our rack sits is about 2 feet, just about 24 inches. Because of that angled shape of the trays that I talked about, I'll measure ground clearance from the end here. That's going to be about 21 inches. So with the rise in the shank and the overall height of the Frontier, I'm not going to be super worried about that going up hills or over curbs, bottoming out that way. If we want to though, we can fold the rack up to save a little bit of that space. To do that, we'll loosen up this hand knob here on the left side until it unthreads. It's got a little cable on it so it'll hang in place while we're not using it. Fold the rack up towards the vehicle. Find where the holes realign on the shank and put that knob back in place. And now we can get that new measurement to see what the space is that we've saved. Now from the bumper to the furthest point out, it's going to be about 11.5 inches, so we save a good amount of space that way, but it wasn't sticking out too far to begin with. There's going to be a little bit of up and down movement, as with a lot of 1.25 inch bike racks. It doesn't sit super close to the end here, but as just a general measurement, we're looking at about 4.5 inches before we're going to make any sort of contact with the rack at all, so I'm not going to worry about that damaging my tailgate. On the back side, we can see what this rack is going to cover up. So our license plate's down here in the middle. There's a lot of good windows where you should be able to see through that pretty well, but it's going to be at least partially blocking it. Our backup camera is right here in the middle. Again, kind of the same thing. The rack sits really low, so you should have tons of room to see over the top of it and around on the sides. It doesn't come wide enough that it's going to interfere with our taillights, though, at all. Like I mentioned, the rack does have an 1.25 inch shank. It fits into a 2-inch receiver tube. It's held in place there with this 2-inch sleeve by a 3/4 inch anti-rattle bolt and the lock on the end. So it's going to secure everything in place, and if you have a couple cars, one with a 2-inch and one with an 1 1/4" receiver, you can use it for both. Overall, if you're looking for an entry-level way to get 2 bikes up to 35 pounds where you need them to go, the Hollywood Racks destination is a solid choice. It doesn't take up a ton of space, it's not super difficult to work with, but it does make frame contact, and there are a few pinch points and things that I don't like, and it doesn't tilt away with the bikes loaded up. So if you do want something that's going to be able to get 2 bikes where you need them to go and does have that tilt function and a little bit better accessibility, you could check out something like the Kuat Transfer. Works in a similar way, but it does tilt away with the bikes loaded up, and it's got a nice opening in the middle, so you should still have access to your backup camera. But again, if you are just looking for a simple and easy way to get 2 bikes where you need them to go, this is a really solid option. Again, was just a quick look at the Hollywood Racks destination 2-bike rack and how it fits on our 2022 Nissan Frontier. Here we are on our test course. As we hit the alternating bumps, you can see what it would be like to hit a pothole on the road. Our solid speed bumps simulate pulling in and out of a driveway or hitting a speed bump in a parking lot. We use the slalom portion of our course to simulate the side-to-side movement, such as turning corners or evasive maneuvers.